Welcome back, YouTube. Today we're reacting to. I did some research on this too. I wanted to find out who was the true strongest at Spada, the true strongest Hollow, and I found it, and I like it. I wish it was in the anime. Well, it was in the novel, but still, I wanted to see Ichigo fight this thing, or Ukiyo, or the other Spadas fight this creature, because this thing is actually the most powerful in Spada. None of the other Spadas got anything on this Hollow. Apparently, it was so powerful that it rivaled that of the Soul King. You know how powerful that is? That is OD. But anyways, we're here to do a breakdown. Check out my boy Alex. He's the one did the research on it, found it for us, and he has a part two to it. I'm gonna upload that one tomorrow. I'm gonna do that one first thing in the morning when I get up, 'cause it's super late where I'm at. So let's get down to this junk, y'all. Ready for this?
Most dangerous hollow in Bleach. Would you believe me if I said the most deadliest hollow in Bleach lore is not an Espada or not even an Arankar? Maybe you do. Now what if I told you this hollow is actually a Zanpakuto? Now you might think I'm crazy, but I'm actually not lying. You might be confused. Let's start from the beginning. And I mean from the very beginning. Back when the Shinigami had no Zanpakuto. As you could probably guess, a world without Shinigami and their Zanpakuto would be crazy. Especially the hollow population. As you know, the Shinigami are supposed to maintain that balance. And with all of these hollows running around, that kinda was the case for these times. So because of all of this chaos and having nothing to balance the population of hollows in Hueco Mundo, many Menos in Hueco Mundo managed to reach Adhuchas, the second evolutionary stage of a Menos. And if you remember, in order for a Menos to reach Adhuchas, a Menos must consume and continue to consume other hollows. So many of the Menos during this time achieved that particular stage, but this particular hollow stood out. This Adhucha tore through Hueco Mundo like a hurricane, forever evolving due to the sheer amount of hollows it consumed, but never reaching the Vestalorde form. This hollow was so powerful, it fought Baragon for the rule of Hueco Mundo for a while. Baragon acknowledged this hollow and both had respect for each other.
Alright, so it came to be recognized by Barga, who given it as a Walker desire with infinite evolution. Oh, so Barga knew this thing was a threat and it was dangerous. The two of them reached an agreement to never interfere with one another. Okay, so Barga obviously knew about this thing. For those who don't know who Bargon is, I think he was the second strongest spot, if I'm not mistaken.
It was so strong that its roar shook and even devastated some of the Rukongai. The influence this hollow had on Hueco Mundo was great, but it was also looking to expand. It left Hueco Mundo and went to the real world and even the Soul Society. Because the Shinigami weren't as advanced as they are now, the Shinigami struggled. The hollow defeated them, including Yamamoto, and then made his way to the...
It beat Yamamoto? Bro. The power scaling for this thing is off the charts already. And this is young Yamamoto. This is Yamamoto in his prime. So he's not weak. Now, if they had to say old Yamamoto, then I'd be like, okay, that's ain't none. He's old. He's kind of not in his prime. He has Bankai that can, blow things away, but not erase things. Just blow it away because of the heat. But, dang.
Soul Palace, where it attempted to consume the Soul King. Of course, Ichibei and the rest of Squad Zero weren't having it, so Ichibei used Ichimonji to basically erase the Hollow's name, or at least cut it in half. As you know, this pretty much defeats anyone, and this foe was no exception. It was defeated, and then it was sealed into a Zanpakuto by Uetsu Nemaya, the guy who basically created Zanpakuto. Ichibei, with his Ichimonji, named this Zanpakuto Iko Miki Domoe. Be honored that you were given such an elaborate name. You, being nothing more than a lump of hollows and souls, remain here for eternity and let those hollows indulge in cannibalism inside you, until the one who comes along and tames you, remain there till the end of time, and then devour the soul of your owner. The Zanpakuto was thrown into Uetsu's palace, Huden, and never seen again until the Quincy invasion. During the chaos caused by the war, a noble was able to sneak in and steal Iko Miki Domoe, and it was given to Hikone to carry out Tokinada's bidding. Okay, so right off the bat, this backstory does present some plot questions. For example, how were Ichibei and Uetsu able to defeat Iko Miki Domoe with their Zanpakuto when there weren't any Zanpakuto at the time? Did this fight cause them to develop these concepts on the spot? Or am I misreading something? It also brings into perspective how old everything really is. Yama was around during the time the Shinigami were Zanpakuto-less, and the idea of the Gote 13 wasn't concrete, it seems. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. Let's focus on Iko Miki Domoe, the Hollow Zanpakuto, and Hikone's Zanpakuto. So Iko Miki Domoe is a very strange and interesting Zanpakuto if you couldn't already tell. It's described as a white sword with black spots spotted around the sword itself, and supposedly it glows white. The more interesting part of this Zanpakuto, besides the fact that it's a hollow and that it rivaled Baragon, is the requirements necessary to wield.
Yeah, I gotta realize how powerful Baragon is. The man had the power to age anything he touched, or that came anywhere near him. But we did research on it, and it turns out he can't really age anything he touches. It's more to say if somebody's weaker than him, he can kill them instantly. But if like someone like Aizen, who's way stronger than Baragon, he would just blitz him instantly. Well, he already did it twice, so.
In order for someone to be able to wield this Zanpakuto, the person must be a candidate for the Soul King's throne. What that means is you must have mixed blood. Tokinata states that the only people who can wield this is Hikone, Ichigo, and maybe even Ginjo.
Hikone. Oh, it does say Ichigo. They just cut half his name off, so they say Gunjo. Gunjo does have mixed blood too.
Hikone, Iko Miki
I thought he was dead.
Domoe's
Nah, he's
wielder,
alive.
is an artificial being having Shinigami, Quincy, Hollow, and Fullbringer mixed into him. If you don't fall under this class, being having Shinigami, Quincy, Hollow, Iko Miki Domoe's wielder
Hollow,
is an
Fullbringer,
artificial being having
Quincy.
Shinigami, Quincy, Hollow, and Fullbringer mixed into him. If you don't fall under this classification and you wield Iko Miki Domoe, your soul will commit suicide. Literally, your soul will start to undergo the process of soul suicide. You will holify and have your soul explode, basically. Like its
Damn.
origins and requirements, the
broken.
abilities are unique too. Instead of having just one release command, it actually has 3 of them, not including the Bankai. Yes, it has a Bankai, but not really.
Oh, God.
I'll elaborate on that, but first let's talk about the release
It has a
commands and what
Bankai.
they do. The first release command is Orbit the Stars, Iko Miki Domoe. This release command turns the blade into an arm, a hollow arm, and not just any hollow arm, it's Iko Miki Domoe's arm. The arm mowed down all of the enemies within its vicinity. So basically, this arm is just a hollow within having some fun. Send them to their burials and engrave them in memory. Iko Miki Domoe is the next one. It's a mouthful for a release command, but not really in Japanese. Now this one is even more unique, and it's actually more like releasing Iko Miki Domoe out of the Zanpakuto. So the hollow comes out and it's pretty damn huge. It's actually this thing right here. In this form, it is as big as Yami resurrected. So you know that's pretty big. Here.
What?
In this
What?
form, it is as big as Yami.
Yo, if it's bigger than Yami, look at this picture and look at this picture. So this thing gotta be like Godzilla size. Cause that's the only way I can interpret this, because Yami was about the size of I don't know, like a couple of 2 buildings, and this thing is bigger than Yami, so it gotta be at least like 5, 8, 9 buildings.
Yami resurrected. So you know that's pretty big. He has the ability to summon many hollows, and I'm talking about so many to the point that all of the Quincy fighting this thing were overwhelmed by the sheer amount of hollows coming out. Its roar in this form was enough to shake the Rukongai and started tornadoes. And this is exactly what you're seeing on the Bleach Brave Souls Hikone character. Truly scary. Truly scary indeed, considering the fact that we haven't even got to the Bankai or even the 3rd release command, which is Hatch the Deceased Iko Miki Domoe. Now it's similar to the 2nd release command, but this time Iko Miki Domoe is smaller but more menacing. It's also the strongest form of the hollow, having a spiritual pressure higher than a Vastalorde. Its raw spiritual power was enough to heavily damage Grimmjow, Nell, and Holibel. It was so
Wow, so wait, he fought Grimmjow and Nell and Holibel? Hold up.
its raw spiritual
Brown below it. Where's Grimmjow and them name it? It said close to it were heavily injured, but the damage was somewhat reduced because of shield of water that. Oh yeah, it does says it right here. It says right here, somewhat the damage was somewhat reduced because of the shield of water that Holibel enveloped them in. Okay, so she basically protected Grimmjow in now. It doesn't say Grimmjow in them name in here. Oh yes it does. Yes it does. I'm tripping.
power was enough to heavily damage Grimmjow, Nell, and Holibel. It was so fast in this form that it was able to perform a sonido that was described to sound like the nightmarish cry of the new, a Japanese legend that signifies ill omen. Now I don't know what that thing sounds like, but it does sound pretty scary to me. It even has regeneration in this form. and it could also fire arrows from a single eye. So basically all of the abilities of an Arrancar, but on a bigger scale. Now we talk about
It's
the
basically a
Bankai,
broken
or
version.
Resurrection, or both. It's kind of confusing when it comes to classifying what it is, because it works like both of these things, a Bankai and a Resurrection. To awaken this stage of the Zanpakuto, Hikone calls out Iko Mikidomoe's full name, Iko Mikidomoe Horaku Haki. Once Hikone calls out that name, Hikone is released or awakened. No big hollow monster here this time. But this time, Hikone is altered. It's one of those types of Bankai, or Resurrection. When Hikone activates this ability, a white wind wraps around Hikone's body and the Zanpakuto goes back into its original white-black spotted state. Hikone's face takes a hollow-like appearance while suddenly a Shihakusho is donned on its body. And by it, I mean Hikone. We don't know exactly what Hikone's gender is. But anyway, by this point, Hikone has basically took the form of an Arrancar, but not all of the way.
That's a girl.
It's a mixture of both Hollow and Soul Reaper, similar to how Ichigo is. In this state, Hikone gains some crazy stat boost. First off, spiritual pressure is insane. Hikone's Ryatsu evolved exponentially, all the way to the point of resembling the Soul King himself. It was so crazy, it was enough to break Hikone's Ryatsu limiter, similar to the ones that Toshiro and his squad had in Karakura Town. Whoever felt this spiritual pressure instinctively felt it, rather than simply understanding it. This is how you know
those who sensed this equal ratio, although different from Aizen's, felt rather than understood it, that this child was indeed said to be the...
This kid wasn't playing any games. People instantly knew what was up when they felt that Ryatsu.
This thing must have been so powerful that it surpassed Aizen. Like, Aizen probably feared this thing. Probably know why he probably never fucked with it. Because if Aizen knew about this, I'm pretty sure he would have tried to get this sword, but he probably knew, yeah, I'm not fucking with that.
Hikone's speed in Resurrection / Bankai is literally described as God speed. So much so that the surrounding movements around Hikone as he leapt up into the sky seemed delayed. Now couple all of these things with the fact that Hikone can use literally any ability from any race in Bleach, you have yourself a broken character. And that is a video for another time. I gotta tell you, this is probably one of the most unique Zanpakuto.
Yeah, she can use Quincy powers, Hollow, Shinigami powers, and what was the other one? Hollow, Shinigami, Quincy. And I think it's Spadas. The Spadas are hollow. Yeah, they're hollow.
From the lore behind it to the abilities themselves.
Yeah.
And because of this Zanpakuto is now in my top 5, I think. Now, if only we could at least see a sketch for each release and resurrection of Iko Mikidomoe. And it's crazy how we weren't able to see Hikone's Bankai / resurrection. You would think that's something we would need to see. I know it would look like something like Ichigo's Horn of Salvation maybe, but that's very vague and I doubt Hikone would look exactly like that. What do you think of Iko Mikidomoe, the Hollow Zanpakuto? I think it looks really cool and, well, you know how I feel about this Zanpakuto. Make sure you guys comment.
I'm a big fan of it now. I actually like it more than Ichigo's. Because this thing, it sounds broken. Broken. Like... legitimately broken. Cause that means this thing is unstoppable. I know it's a part 2 to this. Yeah, you got a part 2, so we're gonna do a reaction for that one tomorrow. My name on my video gonna be different. Name my video the most powerful hollow. Yeah, the most powerful hollow in Bleach. Because I know it's gonna be. It's funny because people be like, "Oh, that's most definitely clickbait," but it's actually not. Okay. Okay, that looked like that was it because I was just seeing on the C1 video. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, guys, post comments below. Do you guys think this thing is the most powerful? I'm a big fan of it now that I know about it. I didn't even know about this thing. Now that I know about it, I'm a huge fan of it. I'm loving it. I hope that we get to see it in the manga, the new manga that Kubo is making, because apparently there's a new arc starting called the Hell Arc Begins. And I'm assuming he probably ain't gonna start to someone when Bleach 1000 with Blow Art. gets content, man. And that's what he's gonna start on it. But I can't wait. I hope that she gets introduced or somebody else picks up the Zanpakuto, and I hope it's not Ichigo, I hope it's somebody else. But whoever picks that Zanpakuto up gonna be busting ass way better than Ichigo. But anyways, guys, post coming to go. Let me know what you guys think. They might give it to Ichigo, son. That'll be even more dope. And I'll catch you guys next time. Make sure y'all like and subscribe, and make sure you share the video with all of your friends. I'm a big fan of this Hollow too, y'all. Peace. Let's check this John on out, y'all. This shit ain't gonna be sicker than I ain't gonna lie. Capcom has been killing it. Capcom is dipping their balls in some good juice right now. They feeling themselves. They said they made all this money off Resident Evil and shit. They like, man, we ain't broke no more.